This is a 30-minute session with two generations of very different opinion on the subject. Sarah, would you like to say it?
Of Japan. Or just Japan in general. I like Japan.
Actually, it's Tokyo, Japan.
Oh, it's more specifically Tokyo, Japan.
Yeah.
I guess Japan is definitely...
It's too big, yeah. We'll come back to more places in Japan because we actually visited Japan.
Yeah, with multiple cities.
Yes, and stayed there for about a month.
It was very, very fun. You had a hard time.
I did?
I feel like you did. Once we left Disney...
Yeah, the Disney bubble was kind to me.
you were suffering a bit.
Mostly because we went in July, and that is one of the hottest times. In fact, when we got to our Midtown Shinjuku hotel and met our guide, the first guide we had, she said that they were experiencing the hottest day.
It was very, very hot. It was about 95 degrees with about 85% humidity.
And we had just trekked all the way across Tokyo.
We were in Chiba.
On a train. Yeah.
We were in Chiba, which is a prefecture of Tokyo. That's where Tokyo Disney and Disney Sea is. And we took a train, which probably took about 45 minutes into
because
Tokyo.
We did not time it correctly. They had us getting on the train much earlier than we were able to get on it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, there was no way we were going to make it, basically. Yeah. And we ended up there about an hour and 15 minutes later than we were supposed to. But our tour guide was kind enough she just sat in the lobby of our hotel, which was very sweet of her. She was a blessing. She was very, very kind.
It was a rude awakening to what the tour was, going to entail. when I was already drenched in sweat and overheated, and I was having to participate in a walking tour of Tokyo.
You were very unwell at that point.
Well, I wasn't super unwell, but I was really cooked.
Yeah, you just basically boiled in your own juices, essentially. It was very, very hot. But it was super awesome because our guide basically took us to all the places where she's all not super touristy areas, but...
Well, I have to say the tour package that we bought focused on anime because Sarah's major was animation, and she's always been a fan of Japanese anime, so...
Yeah, they're super fun. So a lot of it was going to places that were either iconic in anime or just this is where you go look at anime figurines, where you would go to buy manga, that kind of thing. So Akihabara was definitely on the list there. And that was super, super, super cool.
And for those of you who are very novice Japanese travelers, Akihabara and Shinjuku are like Mesa and Glendale to Tokyo.
I see what you're doing. Okay.
Yeah.
So what the hell do you mean?
I mean, they're nothing like those cities, but they're outliers of the main inner Tokyo.
Yeah, they call them prefectures.
Prefecture. Yeah, well, actually, no. Prefecture is more like a county, like Maricopa County.
Kind of.
Yeah.
It's difficult. That's a difficult thing to define in the way that they do in America.
One thing I will say, I knew nothing when I went there. I could say konnichiwa.
Yeah.
And I could say one other thing that I've now forgotten.
Sumimasen.
Sumimasen.
There you go. You can just about say that. I can speak it just enough in order to get what I need and order food, basically. And ask for where the bathroom is and be as polite as possible. But typically there are people
very American friendly over there. And I highly recommend a visit, but do study up on their culture and customs.
So you don't make an ass of yourself.
Because it's very different than how we conduct ourselves in public.
Basically, the way that the Japanese view Americans is kind of like a very overeager golden retriever. They're clumsy and a bit derpy and goofy, but they mean well. So that's basically how they view us. They're like, just point the American in the direction they need to go, and they'll figure it out. And that's basically what ended up happening to us. We ended up going to Akihabara with our guide, and she took us to the Maid Cafe. It was the at-home cafe, and she was telling us that maid cafes are typically for younger male audiences of the Japanese populace to go learn how to talk to girls. That's literally what it is.
It's kind of like a Hooters.
Yeah, kind of, but like there's a weird sense of innocence to it, which is very strange, but each maid cafe is very different from the next one, and if you're in Shinjuku and you find a maid cafe, you have to be careful because you might end up in the red light district, and that maid cafe very much might be something completely different.
Yeah, this guide knew of this cafe, though, because her son went to this cafe, and, and she knew some of the ladies, and I think she had taken other tourist clients to this cafe because they were so nice to us.
They were very, very nice.
Also, I must say, being the age I am, being sweaty, really sweaty, it was kind of odd to be fawned over by a very young Japanese girl with bunny ears on.
Yeah, it is definitely a strange
I hope that
experience.
was a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
It will be for you. It will not be for me. Unfortunately, I have several dudes who definitely want to go to a maid cafe, so I'm going to have to go
Reggie,
again.
she would like to as well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. She absolutely will go back to the same exact one. Hopefully they don't pick at my hair like they did last time.
Yeah, there's no like personal space.
I don't mind.
Yeah.
I don't really care.
And we ordered drinks. You can order food too, I think, but we didn't.
We were mainly thirsty by that point because we ended up eating ramen at a shop in Harajuku just prior to that, about 15 minutes prior.
And I thought, intuitively going for hot food while you're really hot wouldn't be a good experience. And like I thought maybe I'd throw up or not be able to eat it. But I ate it, and I ate it so fast.
You ate the whole thing.
They gave me a bib because there was just like noodles and stuff flying out of the bowl because I wasn't really good at eating it, and I didn't know you could pick the bowl up. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that was like my first real Japanese food.
It was very, very funny watching you eat.
Yeah, I bet. And I must have drank like 4 pitchers of their tea because it was just...
They kept bringing it to you too. Because the guy behind the counter genuinely seemed to be worried about Mom.
I was pretty much red as a beet. So in accompaniment with this, let's just say, I do have extra footage of us doing these things. Not all of these things, but some of these things. And I have some extra pictures, and that's going to be part of Sarah and I's Patreon subscription. So
sure, yeah.
The exclusive content, so to speak.
Do you guys want to see us waddling around in Japan?
It's not a great site. I must say this exclusive content might be something you don't want to see.
It was very, very warm, and it bears to mention, like we should say that a lot of places in Japan don't have central air conditioning. A lot of it is literally just a big giant industrial fan that you stand in front of in the hopes that you feel cool. It's not like here in Arizona where, it's 140 degrees outside, but when you step into like someone's house or like a restaurant or something, you're immediately cooled off because the air conditioning cools you. Do not expect that in Japan. You are very much going to step into a building and it, for some reason, feel even hotter than you would if you just stood outside.
Especially a ramen shop because they're actually boiling water.
Yeah, because they're actually boiling water.
And it's actually more hot and humid inside the place.
They've got big giant grills frying up all the meats.
Somehow we managed to get right in again. I think our guide just knew what time and where to
and
go.
What to say, because that was another thing too. She
was just like grease lightning. Mm-hmm. She got us in and she introduced us to Pasmo, which is this little fun little card that had some money loaded on it, but we could load more money on it, and it would get you into like a subway or
it was really helpful.
A bus, different transportation situation.
It was really helpful later that week because we stayed in Tokyo for about a week. And in that week, we ended up going to the Studio Ghibli Museum. And we had to take... we couldn't take the J line. The J line in Tokyo is essentially this big, huge train that just does a loop of Tokyo. And if you want to go anywhere else in the country, you can take different train lines. And if you have, typically when you go, you have a J line pass, and that gives you just access to the J line. If you want to take a train somewhere else, you have to pay for it. So Pasmo definitely helped us there. And then it also helped us when we got off the train and ended up in, what was it? Where were we when we got off that train? Because we then had to take a bus.
That's a story for a different day, because that wasn't in Tokyo, right?
No, that was when we were in Tokyo. We weren't in Tokyo for the Studio Ghibli Museum. We had to travel outside, but that's that week we were in Tokyo.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I don't remember where we ended up, but we ended up having to get on a bus after that. We had to pay for it using Pasmo. But it was a specific bus.
The good thing to know about Pasmo is when you do travel there and you obtain your Pasmo card, it stays valid for 10 years.
Yeah, keep it. Don't.
And you can load money on it before you even arrive there, so that you'll already have it.
Yeah, super
and
convenient.
You can reload it in any train station, I believe. And maybe some 7-Elevens and
Lawson's
as well. Yeah.
Yep. Super good places. We were living out of that 7-Eleven in Tokyo.
Our hotel was the Godzilla Hotel.
In Shinjuku.
Right, and it's a property of Holiday Inn, is like the parent corporation of this hotel. I can't remember the initials. Anyway.
I can't remember the initials either.
I'll put it in the description notes because I'll have to look it up. Which proves that this conversation is very spontaneous, because I would normally have all this stuff written down. But the hotel supposedly was easy to find. However, when we got off the train...
We went out the wrong exit. That's the problem.
We did go out the wrong exit. We didn't know which exit to go out, though.
We didn't know there were several different exits that we could have went on.
We didn't realize that this was the biggest train station in Tokyo.
In the world. And well, maybe not in the world, but it's definitely the busiest in the world.
Yeah, and it had multiple levels, multiple exits on each level. Mm-hmm. Eventually, we came out the building around the opposite side of where we needed to be. We walked the entire building in the heat, looking for this giant Godzilla head, because it's supposed to be very prominent.
And it is, if you're looking in the right direction on the right street.
But there are buildings that just tower over it.
Oh, yeah.
Because
I
think that building correct me if I'm wrong, 93 floors?
35 floors. In total, because we were on level 32, and there were 3 stories above us. Yeah, we were nearly at the top, and on top of that, this building's first 5 or 6 floors were actually movie theaters. And if you were staying at the hotel, they gave your key doubled as a ticket to go into a special theater in the movie theater downstairs that played nothing but Godzilla movies all day long. Yeah, and Japanese movie theaters are kind of different than American ones. I know we're kind of switching over to what they do, where you can bring in just shit tons of food, alcohol, and just sit there in your own just food pile and beer filled mug and just eat and drink. We're kind of moving towards that, but there's nowhere near as awesome as Japan is, because literally, when you went to bed, I literally would go downstairs and go watch Godzilla movies because it was open all night long. So I was just well, it's 2 a.m, but hey, they're playing Baby Godzilla.
It was a nice hotel. It wasn't over the top. It was like a Holiday Inn. And
you can definitely get rooms that are over the top, because
in there, yeah,
Godzilla's head is on what you would consider the lobby floor, even though it's the 8th floor of the building.
Yeah, that was another thing that threw me off.
Yeah. And then you could get special rooms, suites, where parts of his body are coming through the wall. You could get one where it's his knee or his hand, or part of his torso is coming through the building.
Yeah, we didn't have that, but we had the most awesome view of all of Tokyo.
Yeah, I have pictures, so I'll send them to you.
Okay. So seeing all the shrines and
I wish we could have done more of that.
And walking around in the park. I think the best thing we did was we came back to Tokyo before we left. We could have flew out of a different city, but they had us come back to Tokyo.
Yeah, we went back to Chiba.
So,
Narita Airport.
yeah. And when we stayed in Shinjuku the second time, we were in a completely different, like, more business area.
We were basically on the opposite side of, like, basically...
the train station.
On the opposite side of the train station. And then there was the highway. And then there was our hotel.
Yeah, so kind of like one side of it was like all like arcades, the Godzilla Hotel, fast food places, an AR. There was a virtual reality.
I was so mad.
AR type building.
We ended up staying like right outside this. I guess it was brand new. I think that's what it was. And you needed like an RSVP invitation sort of thing in order to get in there.
Yeah, but the light show that they were putting on outside was awesome.
Yeah, it was super cool. But the cool thing about
we couldn't get in it for whatever reason.
You needed an RSVP invitation. Yeah. So the guy was explaining it to me, saying that like we emailed you. In your email, you should have it if you're part of this.
Of course we didn't.
Of course we didn't. Yeah. Although I really wish we did, because it had people who watch anime. You might know Neon Genesis Evangelion. They had the ability to pilot an Eva, which is an enormous robot, and that was part of the VR experience, was piloting an Eva. And I was like, damn it!
Well, there are many reasons to go back.
Oh yeah, totally. Like, I want to go.
Even though we were there at length, like, there's just so much that we didn't cover.
Yeah.
And we stayed busy. I mean, we were up at the crack of dawn, and, you know, we went to bed kind of early. We didn't stay out super late many nights. A couple of nights we did.
Mainly because we were
tired.
My concern, too, with staying out too late was, I'm pretty sure that the trains stop running at about midnight. Yeah. But I didn't want to risk being out that late anyway.
Yeah.
In the terrible off chance that, like, you know, we're 2 hours away from our hotel, and that 2 hours could have been covered by like a train ride.
It's pretty amazing how fast you can get like somewhere far away.
Yeah, really easy. And it's not just because
everything's built up around the trains too, so it's not like here where when you think of, like, you know, what's that thing that runs down Central?
The light rail?
Yes, the light rail. I do not like the light rail.
You don't.
I mean, I like what it represents, but it's built as an afterthought. And these trains run built as the central of the city. That
is your form of transportation. Basically, it's kind of like
the best form of transportation that you could take. If you needed to go somewhere else, you could take a taxi. Many people do not own a car.
No, it's very much like New York, in which like cars are for chumps.
Rent a car to go into the countryside. But even then, the trains run into the countryside to where you might want to go.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just found that I really liked the ease that we got from place to place very fast.
Yeah. And some of the time, like, you know, you're factoring in, instead of like, you know, oh, it takes me a half an hour to get back to my house from where we are right now. And depending on traffic, it takes about 45 minutes. And the big concern was when we went to get on trains was, well, how long is the train ride going to take? How busy is the station going to be when we leave? Because that dictates how fast we get to the platform, how fast it takes us to get out of the train station and then on to, like, I don't know, a bus or a different train.
Yeah, there's a lot of extra time ate up by getting on the train, getting off the train. Yeah, that's true.
Just because, like, you don't...
One morning we got on the Shinkansen, did I say that right? Which is the bullet train.
Yeah, the bullet train. Yeah, you said it right.
And we noticed that there seemed to be shifts of people. Like, we watched a river of schoolgirls and boys getting on the train. It just never ended. And then... I believe the business people go before them, and then them, and then we were to get on after all that happened. Yep. We got there early, though, so we got to see that.
And we ended up seeing just loads of people.
They were all on their way to school.
And work.
Yeah.
And other places as well.
It was wild. And, you know, where were they going to school at? You know, you wonder what a day in the life of this person's like, you know, when you're a tourist. But... It was interesting. All of it fascinating.
Somebody who watches slice of life anime as often as I do, I'm kind of like, I know where they're going.
Yeah, Sarah felt like it was familiar to her.
Oh, in the worst way.
And to me, it wasn't at all. It was very foreign to me.
There were a lot of moments where I was stood in a city and I would literally turn on the spot and just like have this wave of like, it's not really deja vu. It felt very similar to that, where it's like, I've stood here before, but not as me. I've stood here as a character, or I've stood here as like, you know, I've read about this place and like, here I am standing in it right now. Like, the best example isn't in Tokyo. The best example was when we were in Hakone, which is the city.
Well, I think you can attribute that to how great their anime is.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Because like when we went to the Studio Ghibli Museum,
oh my god,
my expectations weren't high because I am a huge Disney fan and I love Disney.
He's the Walt Disney of Japan.
Well, when you say that to me, I don't see the correlation. But after I went there, he's completely off the scale from Walt Disney.
Yeah,
he's so prolific. I mean, when we walked into that room and it was full
of art and just like the individual cells that he's painted,
I just could hardly breathe at the amount of work that man did.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's such a lot of work. And the fact that he's still working on movies, even though he's like, I retired. It's like, did you though?
Well, there's one coming out. It might have came and gone. I think it did. It was in the mid-January.
That's not his though.
Oh,
that's not his. That's his son, or it's somebody who's in a branch of his animation.
Well, I'm just saying, very,
studio.
Very.
Yeah, beautiful, breathtaking, wonderful. Yeah, absolutely.
If you like watercolor, I mean, painting, it's just amazing what they do. Yeah.
So good. But he's still working on it, and I think he's been working on it for like 10 years or something like that. His next big movie, like all the movies that he's personally been involved in take forever. Like Spirited Away took like 10 years to make, and it shows because it's gorgeous.
I feel that way about my work now. I used to whip things out really quick, but now I take a long time.
Yeah. Well, he's one of those guys that's just like, he's just going to go back and just do a bunch of tweening between each thing because he wants it to be perfect. And his way of doing it is it's either all watercolor or it's all cell shaded and rotoscoping and all that stuff that takes just tedious amounts of time and effort and work, and it's just so good by the end of it.
Well, we're coming to the end of our time here, so we have a couple of affiliations to share with you. Yeah. And I'm going to let Sarah talk about the first one.
The first one is the Japanese Treat Box. It's a box subscription where they send you different snackages from Japan. So it's all different sorts of like chips. They have like chocolates and like little gummies. Their candy and their regular like snack food is definitely very different from
you
American
can get
food.
To know a lot about Japan just through this snack box.
Yeah, just through the snack box. Yep. And all of the packaging is in Japanese, but the booklet that it comes with translates all of it into English. So if you have any like allergies or anything like that, it is listed in the little package box thing. The little pamphlet that they give you. And they get artists to design each little booklet. And I think, not last year, but the year before, the October box, which has a bunch of like spooky, creepy, like, you know, like it looks kind of gross, but it's actually really good kind of candy. Their artist was just super good. It was very, very cute. So I think I ended up keeping the pamphlet because I liked the art so much.
Yeah, we had a subscription for a short time before we went over there. Mm-hmm. And so we knew what we liked to snack on by the time we got there.
Well, I already knew. I was just eating it to eat it at that point.
But you'll be able to see from our link how it works. And I think you can sign up for a limited of 3. Mm-hmm. 3 months worth is the least you can sign up for.
Yep. If you go directly to their website, though, you can just buy individual monthly boxes.
We appreciate if you would go through our affiliate link.
Okay.
Sarah.
Okay.
You're not pitching their website.
Be fine. Maybe somebody doesn't want 3 boxes worth. I understand why.
Well, maybe it adjusts. I don't know. I'll have to look at it. The other thing that we have this week is an assortment of Kit Kats. And they have every flavor of Kit Kat you can imagine over there.
They really do.
They come out with like limited time availability for certain flavors.
Some of them are seasonal.
Yeah, like cherry blossoms, they have cherry.
Yeah.
I think they always have green tea. Though.
Yeah, green tea's always so good.
But if you like Kit Kats, and they give them, correct me if I'm wrong here, it's a sign of luck, right? To give a Kit Kat.
Yep.
So it's really a big cultural Kit Kat thing over there. Yeah. And when we got there, I didn't really know that, but I come to find that out while we were there. It's like, why are these Kit Kats everywhere?
Somebody gave us some.
Yeah.
At one point, somebody gave us some. And I think it was when we were in Kyoto, during that huge ass festival that we got stuck in. Somebody just walked up to us and they said something. I couldn't really hear them because it was very, very loud. And they handed it over and they bowed to us and I took it and then they gave one to you and you took it and we're like, what's happening?
Yeah. I think it started in with school age children. They have these really intense tests they have to pass. And they would give each other Kit Kats to wish each other luck on these tests. And that's how Kit Kat got its foothold over there. And then from there, it's just gone crazy. Every city has like its own Kit Kats,
or its own like designed package Kit Kat. Like you could go to Osaka and have like
it's a real popular thing to go to the different cities and buy different little treats and take them home and share them with people. So this is our Japan episode. I love you, Sarah.
I love you too, Ma.
Everybody, have a great week. We will be back next week with a surprise. We don't even know what it is.
I was going to say, like, what surprise?
Bye-bye.
Bye.